Welcome back. So Inside Lacrosse releasing this list today, the top 20 men's pro field players after taking everything into this season in consideration and so forth. So here's 20 through 11. You see Matt Dunn, Jared Newman, a couple defense guys there, along with Kyle Bernlohr, Michael Earhart. And then we start to get in the offensive side of things. You also see face-off guy and Trevor Baptiste. Ryder Garnsey is a rookie on there. Yep. That sticks out, right?
Yeah, you got Tommy Palasek, who really kind of put himself into this conversation there at 12. Then you get to the top 10. Matt Rambo coming off that huge game in the championship, clutch performance in the PLL championship game, helping the Whipsnakes win PLL title numero uno. He's the #1 player, followed by Lyle Thompson, Tom Schreiber, and maybe some people might be surprised to see a guy like Brian Cole crack the top 5, but that is the thoughts of Kyle Devitt and Chris Rosenthal from Inside Lacrosse.
Yeah, I mean, give him credit for making the list. I just think there's a couple surprising things on here.
There are a bunch. You know, where would you like to start, Tom?
Ooh, where do we start? I think you start at Zach Currier at 14.
I would agree.
This list. And this is a field list. I think that's important to say. And
yep.
I feel like the context of what this list is coming from is important too. It feels like they went a little back and forth at times between their performance this year, maybe some of the guys' performances as a whole over the course of time.
Yeah.
It kind of had that feel to it. And I guess you start at Currier at 14. I guess when I look at even any list like this, I just want to say, who's the best guy? You know, who's the best lacrosse player? Who's he better than? You know, and you think about what he's done in the outdoor game, and Currier's, of course, won title.
Yeah.
And he had a great career at Princeton. And then this year, a catalyst for this Denver team. I know his stats are a little bit lower than they have been, but he still seems like a guy that I want on my team, probably in that top 10. And I think that's where he belongs, in the top 10 on this list.
The thing for me with Zach Currier has always been, I don't think his stats, especially points-wise, are ever going to jump off the page at you where it screams to any general fan, this is the best player in the world. Mm-hmm. He doesn't put up, he's not going to score the most goals, he's not going to have the most assists, but he does everything.
Yeah.
He does so many different things.
He does them all very well.
Especially when you look at the middle of the field. He does so many things in the middle of the field. And then he just shows you that he has the ability and the handle to throw in some highlight reel goals. So for me, he has to be a top 10 player. I know they mentioned in the Inside Lacrosse list that he had a couple of quiet games in the middle of the year that were very un-Currier-like.
Yeah. But
for the most part, this Denver team is nothing compared to where they are now without him. He's got to be in that top 10 conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for sure. And I think another guy you have to have maybe that's in the top 10 right now, that should be in the top 5 is Rob Pennell. You can't, I mean, Rob Pennell this year, which is considered a down year for him, was still Rob Pennell at the end of the day. He's a guy who
put
scored
up a lot of points.
He's finished second in the league with 63 points. And he's Rob Pennell still. You have to have that context, I feel like, when you think about who Rob Pennell is, and you compare him to the other guys on the list, he's a top 5 guy, in my opinion, and in the world and the field game. No matter what, just last year, he scored 78 points in 13 games.
I don't disagree with you there, and I think it leads me into my other point about some of the guys that are in the top 5. And two of the guys that stand out to me that are in this top 5, top 7 conversation are Will Manny and Marcus Holman. And I loved this Archers team. All year, I was very high on them. From the very beginning, as soon as I saw the roster, I said, this is my pick to win a championship.
Yeah.
It disappointed. And you're telling me that with Tom Schreiber at 3 on this list, Will Manny at 5, and Marcus Holman at 7, you had 7 of the best players in all of professional outdoor lacrosse on your offense, and they couldn't figure it out?
Yeah.
Enough to compete for a championship? To me, that was I mean, I know Schreiber got hurt in that playoff game, and if he stays healthy, maybe they have a chance to beat the Redwoods, and that game goes differently. But I don't know. That to me was a tough one to swallow, and I agree with you. A guy like a Connor Fields or Rob Pennell, I would move up. And Fields is the one that I think has to move up.
I think you move Pennell from 9 to 4 and Fields from 8 to 5.
I could see that.
I take Brian Cole out of there. As great as Brian Cole has looked this year, there just isn't enough for me to be like, he's going to do this again next year. Before this year, he had 13 points in his career in the field game in the Major League Lacrosse. So he's having a great year this year, of course, 53 points in 16 games, which isn't even better than Rob Pennell's year that he's having. So it feels like to me maybe there's some recency bias there with Brian Cole, who you look at and you're like, he can play, but there just isn't enough there for me to have him in that top 5. I mean, Connor Fields, to me, his college game, you know, I go back to that so much and what he did there on a torn ACL or whatever, and then what he's been able to do and sort of continue that now that he's healthy, you can just see that he is one of the best players in the world, even though he had a little bit of a low point there.
Yeah, if I'm thinking who is one of the top 5 players from what we've saw this year as but overall body of work, who do I want as the top 5 player? It's Fields. Finally, real quick, Rambo or Lyle? One.
I'm going Lyle. I mean, I think Rambo was obviously take that jump this year, but you watch Lyle and Rambo play, 2 different players, and I feel like just Lyle, I know Rambo just won a title, but Lyle to me has such a big impact on his team. I don't know. He's fun to watch, and so is Rambo. It's hard to pick, but I gotta go towards Lyle.
I wanna see what Lyle does in the playoffs this weekend before I make my decision.
Oh,
because
because
what Rambo did in crunch time of a championship game was huge.
What about Schreiber?
So let's see. Schreiber's up there too, but his team didn't win.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Right.
Going for the winner this year.
We'll find out.
So a recent sort of background list there. Let us know what you think. Of course, chime in. Hit us up.